Distinguished Professor Amanardi, who is the chairperson of the ICOM, distinguished experts, dear friends online and offline, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. 2000 years ago, the Confucius said, it has always been a pleasure to receive friends from far apart. So I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. Welcome to Shanghai University at such a warm season, and also to witness the exchange between China and the West in the fields of museology. After 1 year's close communications and negotiations and effective preparation, museums, decolonization, restitution, a global conversation seminar is officially opened. After we have conquered numerous difficulties, we can say that it is a manifesto of the emergency of the museology from the pandemic. It is also a testament to the joint efforts of all the museologists. First, I'd like to introduce you the distinguished experts who are present here. They are Professor Amanardi, chairperson of the ICOM, the deputy chairperson of the ICOM, Madam Zhang Wenqin, we also have Terry Niamobi, who is the deputy chairperson of ICOM, who joins us from online. And also we have Mr. Zhao Feng, who is the executive committee member of the ICOM. We also have Taibei Ger Sabahi, who is also a member of the executive committee of ICOM, joining us at the site. Madam Totala Smith, who is also executive member of the ICOM. And we also have the Honorable Chairperson of the Asia Pacific Union of the ICOM, Mr. Pei Zhitong, join us today. The Asia Pacific Association Chairperson of ICOM, the Research and Exchange Center Chairperson, Mr. Analysed, also joins us today. We also have the chairperson of IMREC of the ICOM join us today, Madam Kara Scott. The member of the IMREC, Mr. Yang Zhigang, who is also the former chairperson of the Shanghai Museum, and also we have Madam Samba Younger, who is the president of the Esperis Museum. And we also have the Saban Abdullah, who is the chief officer of the restitution office of Egypt. The Professor Michael Pickling, who is the professor from the Australia University. And also we have Deputy President of the Colonial Research Institute, Mr. Cavasiller. Mr. Wang Qizhi from the Nanjing Museum, who is also the Deputy President of the Nanjing Museum. Madam Liu Wentao, the Deputy Chairperson of Shanghai Museum. Mr. Zhou Qunhua, the President of Shanghai History Museum. And Mr. Shi Jiazhen, who is the Chief Researcher of the Roman Cavity. And also Madam Nan Guoyin from the Zhejiang University. And Madam Xu Dazhen from the Anhui Museum. And Mr. Chen Jian from the Memorial Museum of the Shanghai Jewish Refugee. So indeed, we have a number of distinguished experts with us. And also from the Shanghai University, we have Mr. Qin Kaifeng from the Shanghai University Foundation. So for Shanghai University, we are also joined by President of the Shanghai University, Mr. Liu Changshen, who will join us later because he has some emergency issues to deal with. And we are also joined by Professor Huang Jizhong, who is the president of the Heritage and Information Institute of Shanghai University. We are also joined by the deputy director of the IMREC and also the president of the Shanghai University Museum, Shanghai University Library. Lai Shun reminds us we should also introduce the distinguished experts from the Secretariat of the ICOM. We are also joined by Professor Pan Xiuyong, who is the president of the Shanghai Museum, Mr. Chen Wenping, the Professor Chen Wenping of the Foreign Heritage Studies Center of Shanghai University. In addition to the aforementioned chairpersons and distinguished experts, we are also joined by a number of distinguished academic colleagues from abroad and China. So for the time limit, I will not introduce all of them to you. So I just want to extend a warm welcome to all of you. Okay, now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Liu Changshen, who is the president of Shanghai University and who is also the academician of Chinese Academy of Engineering, to address the audience. Distinguished Professor Amanardi, the chairperson of the ICOM, dear friends and dear colleagues from the museology and academic fields, dear media friends, dear teachers and students, dear colleagues, good morning. I understand this is March, which is indeed a beautiful season. On behalf of one of the hosts of today's meeting, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you and also to join the Museum's Decolonisation Restitution Global Conversation Summit. I want to extend sincere gratitude to all of you for your long-lasting support of Shanghai University. Established in 1912, Shanghai University was one of the former universities that has been established by the Central Party Committee of China. Well, actually, we are one of the outstanding universities back in the contemporary areas, and we are also one of the top-ranked universities in those areas, in the southern area. So we have always been upholding the principle, working diligently, and also to be after all these successful courses in all these fields. With all these principles enshrined in our university motto, we have successfully established 12 main disciplines. And also we have more than 5,000 employees in our university. We have more than 40,000 students at the campus. Since the 13th five-year plan, the nature science has got 9 national foundation rewards, and also we have received multiple rewards, such as the first prize of the educational competition of the Ministry of Education of China. We are also have been ranked as top universities by multiple university rankings. We are also the top 300 universities by the international standard records and rankings. Shanghai University is one of the universities to embark on the education of museology, and also in 1978 we began to do the education of the museology, and also established the discipline and the subject of museology in 1980. After modern decades of development, Shanghai University has become the forefront university in the education of museology, and we're also one of the top universities in the fields of museology, and especially when it comes to the management, the exhibition, as well as the series related to museology. We are indeed the top one. In terms of the international collaboration and the digitalization, we also have our features. Actually, we are based in Shanghai, which is a very inclusive international metropolitan city. We are on the same page with all the best international practices. And this is one of our biggest features, among which the distinct feature is that in 2020, together with the ICOM, we established International Museum Research and Exchange Center. And this is the first exchange platform of the museology. And it is also the platform and also the think tank for museology at all the frontier topics. The purpose of the IMREC is to facilitate exchanges of the museology between different regions so that we can have the sustained preservation of all these heritages and objects. Well, this is also one of the main channels for us to carry on the legacy of the culture of all the human beings. Based on this vector of the museums, we can further enhance the exchanges, communications. So in the fields of museology, the decolonization area, well, I think decolonisation is also a sustainable topic that is well worth of discussion. It involves legal, ethical, and multiple aspects. Attributed to different cultural differences, we are sure to have multiple differences in this regards. Therefore, we need to have candid, open international dialogues. I think this is also the road that we should take to pursue our common goal. Actually, from 2023 to 2028, in our national strategy of the IMREC, we have prioritized the decolonisation. With that, it offered a brand new opportunity for the international exchange of Shanghai University, and also under this big theme, for all the museums, we should also uphold the open and candid principle. I believe under this friendly environment and also against the background of decolonization, we're going to have a very insightful session on the museums, decolonization, and restitution. In the end, I wish this meeting a great success and also to have the fruitful outcomes generated from this session. I'd like to wish all of you a happy and a healthy stay in Shanghai. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Liu, for your wonderful opening remarks. I also want to thank the leaders from Shanghai University for the kind support. I also want to thank the Shanghai University Foundation of International Exchange for your kind support and sponsorship. Decolonization and also museology should be filled with conversations, and I believe that in today's meeting, under the principle of being open and candid, we're going to have the in-depth discussions and also make academic contributions to the advancement of museums, decolonization, and restitution. Now, I'd like to hand over to Madam Emma Nardi, who is the chairperson of the ICOM, to address the audience. Let's welcome.
Dear colleagues, dear members of University of Shanghai, I'm very grateful to the University of Shanghai, represented by the President Chung-Han Liu and Vice-Chancellor Yang Guodang, to my colleagues Lai Xun and Carol Scott, for giving me the opportunity to open the seminar about decolonization. It is for me not only an honor, but also pleasure. ICOM, in partnership with the University of Shanghai, is proud to support the global museum community through research, thanks to ICOM IMREC, the International Museum Research and Exchange Center. My entire university life was dedicated to research. I am therefore aware that research is an indispensable tool to set up the improvement actions that are necessary in a given context. I would like to emphasize that research activity always arises from the awareness of a problem, which is a critical situation that needs to be solved thanks to specific intervention. Now, a problem is such only if it lends itself to multiple solutions. In fact, there is no problem without alternative solutions. Now I ask you to close your eyes and to imagine a man closely tied to the railway's tracks. He can't move, he can't do anything. It may seem like a paradox, but this man has not a problem. Now, on the other hand, imagine the driver of the oncoming train. He, on the other hand, has a problem. He must decide quickly if he has time to brake or not, if braking risks overturning the train, causing many deaths to save one. This is the problem. Scholars call these alternative solutions hypotheses or educated guess. Guess because every hypothesis is a pre-representation of events that take place in the future. Educated because such pre-representations are based on specific scientific knowledge and previous studies, studies that slowly and laboriously lead to the solution of the problem. If the human science research is the tool to describe, compare, analyze, understand, draw conclusions, decolonization is a problem because it derives from a complex situation and can be tackled in many different ways. Research must show us the different hypotheses we can deal with. ICOM plays an important role in standard setting in the museum field, and one of the key instruments in this area is the museum definition that was voted in Prague during the last conference. The new museum definition emphasizes that museums are open to the public, accessible and inclusive. Museums foster diversity and sustainability. Museums operate and communicate ethically, professionally, and with the participation of communities, offering varied experience for education, enjoyment, reflection, and knowledge sharing. For museums and museum professionals to fulfill this role, we need to engage with the histories and colonial legacies of museums and work together to construct something new for the future of our communities and our museums. The seminar that opens today is completely dedicated to the theme of decolonization and restitution, a very important issue for the historical, geographical, economic, ethical aspects that it implies, and particularly dear to ICOM, which has dedicated a specific point of its 2022-2028 strategic plan to it. Decolonization can also be a painful, a burning topic, not only for the people who were being colonized, but also for the colonizers who, in recent times, have been confronted with their responsibility and with a paradigm shift compared to the past. To speak of decolonization means, among other things, to speak of restitution, reparation, repatriation, with all the problems and possibilities that this entails. What is right to return? When it is right to return? Who decides to whom and how to return? These conversations are an opportunity for connection, personal and professional growth, learning and development across borders and across cultures. I look at the seminar organized by IMREC with attention and confidence. Experts representing different nations and positions will confront the strengths of their ideas to animate a debate whose conclusion we await with great interest. The discussion that will take place in Shanghai will be a valuable tool for all museums in the world and for ICOM to set us a policy of dialogue, respect, and peace. In 2 days, ICOM Executive Board will meet, and one of the points in our agenda will be decolonization. As ICOM President, I could not be more grateful to you for organizing this seminar and for sharing the results of the discussion with the global museum community. I wish you a very fruitful and successful debate. Thank you.
Thank you, President Amanadi. Thank you, ICOM, for setting up IMREC in Shanghai University. Thank you, ICOM and your colleagues for being present in this important event. According to President Amanadi's speech, we'll work together to make IMREC the platform for exchange, for collaboration among museums. So next, let's invite Terry Naranati, Vice President of ICOM, to give more talks about the importance of this event. And because of the pandemic situation, he cannot be present with us, but he shared the video with us.
Good afternoon and good evening to our colleagues that are joining us from the diaspora. It is indeed a great honor and pleasure for me to be part of this very important conference, which is discussing museums, decolonization, and restitution. As ICOM, the International Council of Museums, we know and we have realized that the aspect of decolonization and restitution is an important topical issue of this era, and it is for this reason that we have embedded it as one of the strategic aspects that we need to deal with in our strategic plan for 2022 to 2028. And it is a great pleasure for us as ICOM to collaborate with our friends and colleagues here in China, and in particular the Shanghai University, in this particular important topical issue. In the 2 days that we'll be here, we will listen to many different aspects of decolonization and restitution. And we hope that when we leave our university here at Shanghai University, we will go with different perspectives of decolonization and what it entails and what it means. It is not only about taking back objects that were stolen, but we also realize that decolonization means many different things. Even us, as people in the museum, as curators, to change our mindsets, to change the way we express the different narratives of the people that we represent in our institution. And therefore, we as museum professionals have a lot to do in this aspect of decolonization. And when it comes to restitution, which we talk about, there is no one proper solution of dealing with it, and we must continue the dialogue. And that's why it is very important that today, or this time, here in China, we're discussing this decolonization because it adds value to that dialogue that is taking place around the world. I wish you well, I wish you all the best, and I wish you a wonderful conference. Sheshe, thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Terry Namabi. We look forward to IMREC of ICOM to work with colleagues to carry out prospective, future-looking global collaborations and really do our part. Now let's invite ICOM IMREC APC President Carol Scott to give some remarks.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor, and thank you, distinguished guests and very welcome delegates to this wonderful conference today and to the achievement of many months' work. So I want to begin my remarks by stating that one of the overall aims of ICOM IMREC is to explore issues of significance to the global museum community through conferences, expert seminars, and research projects. To this end, as has been mentioned, the Academic and Programming Board of ICOM IMREC has taken the ICOM strategic plan as its starting point. And I should say that the ICOM strategic plan was itself based on research. And when we asked what were the most significant issues that were facing the global museum community today, there were 6 issues that came up quite consistently. One was the issue of funding, and particularly declines in public funding in some countries in the world, and with huge implications for museums. A second was decolonization, which of course is the subject of our meeting today. A third one was climate change and just general sustainability and health of the museum sector overall. A fourth one was looking at the role of digital in museums. A fifth one was social inclusion, and the final one was museum leadership. So in 2023, ICOM IMREC is undertaking 3 of those 6 ideas. And the first one is a research project which will be taking a global look at public funding around the world, where there have been declines and whether there have been declines, the impact on the museum sector and the new business models that are emerging. And that's going to be conducted by a consortium of universities around the world led by the University of Quebec at Montreal. The second one is a conference later this year on museums and sustainability, and that includes, if we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, that's climate change, its resources, and it's also social inclusion. And the third one, of course, is the subject of today's meeting, and that is decolonization and restitution. I want to share with you some of the thinking behind the curation of this seminar. Decolonization and restitution are evolving concepts. I think we're still trying to find out exactly what that means, within our sector. So part of what I think we will explore over the next 2 days is what that means now. And I think we are really taking a moment in time. If we have this conference in 3 years hence or 10 years hence, we may have a different conversation, but we're looking at what we are talking about now and what are some of the emerging issues. So we decided as a group, and there was a working group from the Academic and Programming Board, to have some sort of guiding principles when we organized this seminar. And one of the things was we wanted it to be global in scope. And as we sort of discussed this over a few months, I think the idea of global is a little bit more than geographical representativeness or representation. We've tried to address that very carefully, but it's about more than that. It's also about having a balance between academic presentations and also professional practice. It recognizes the current conversations between institutions holding objects acquired through the colonization processes and the countries and the communities which seek their restitution. It examines restitution within countries as well as between countries. It acknowledges that both human remains and objects are the subjects of repatriation. It notes that colonization is not just confined to the nations of the global north and the global south. And I'd have to say that a lot of the current discourse is about the nations of the global north that colonized nations in the global south and the repatriation of objects and human remains between them. But in fact, when we looked further into this, colonization is a human phenomenon. It doesn't just happen on that axis. It also happens, between countries within those two sort of equatorial sectors. And so the final paper today is an example from an Asian country which has been colonized and which is still seeking restitution and trying to understand how it interprets that colonial process. We have an exemplary lineup of speakers. I think it's going to be a fantastic 2 days. And I would say be prepared, because we are going to be challenged. We are going to be challenged to relook at the institutional paradigm on which museums are built. We will be challenged to think about the intellectual frameworks that we use to operate within this sector. We will be shown models of how we can do it in a more decolonized way, which involves power sharing and shared interpretation. We will be looking at some of the hard work that has to come when we think about language and interpretation, what we do with our collections, and how we train our staff. We will look at the impact, I think, of taking objects away from communities, that those objects were actually embedded in knowledge systems and cultural practices, and that the reasons for their restitution are not just tangible ones, but also intangible ones. I think we're going to be, we'll have to address, I think, the whole arena of law and policy in this very interesting debate. We'll be exploring some of the opportunities that are offered by digital and by other creative practices. And I think by the end of this, we'll be encouraged by global examples where restitution is actually successfully happening, albeit with some sort of caveats and some difficulties. I want to say that this seminar did not happen in a vacuum. It was a tremendous team effort, and I have the happy responsibility of thanking a lot of people. So I think I will begin by thanking Laishun An, who is our dynamic director of IMREC and who liaises constantly on behalf of ICOM IMREC with the University of Shanghai. I want to thank Hansa Song and C.E. Wang from the ICOM IMREC office at the University of Shanghai, who have brought such dedication and professionalism on a daily basis to realizing this project. And I think we can see the results of their hard work. And thank you to all the volunteers who have been engaged in this. And thank you also to the Vice Chancellor of Shanghai University, Yong Duan, who has been consistently supportive of the partnership in general and this seminar in particular. On the ICOM side, I really wanted to thank the ICOM Secretariat, the efforts of Alexandra Fernandez-Coego and Letitia Connaught to really disseminate the presence of this seminar within the ICOM family, and particularly to Ludovica Antonucci and Catherine Turvey from the Secretariat, who have been so supportive and who have really, contributed ideas, to the generation of this. There was a working group from the Academic and Programming Board, or the APB as we call it, which met really from the spring of last year and worked very consistently on this. And Ludovica and Catherine were part of that, but I really also want to talk and thank Conal McCarthy, who was very generous with his ideas and his contacts, and also Ekcherki Damali. ICOM President Emma Nardi, whom you have already met, and who is also the chair of the governing board of ICOM IMREC, has been unstinting in her support for the partnership. And we are delighted that she and Vice President In-Kyung Chang are with us today, and that Terry has also been able to join us virtually. The ICOM director, Peter Keller, was not able to join us today, but he has been involved in at great length on developing all of our agreements and our annexes. And finally, I want to thank Terry especially for suggesting that Laishun and I present the program to the ICOM Advisory Council about 2 weeks ago, and for Antonio Rodriguez, who's the head of the AC, for being very supportive and receptive to the idea, because I think that helped us get the message out further. So to all of those people who have been so tremendous in this is your program today, so congratulations on a job well done. I just want to say something to the moderators of the sessions as we come up. This is a little bit of homework or housework, if you like it. When our model is really that we will have a presentation or presentations, and then there will be questions. The questions may come from three sources. One, some of the moderators have prepared questions in advance. Secondly, many of you in the audience may want to ask questions. Please do. Please use the microphone so that our virtual audience can hear what you ask, and the moderator can manage this. And the third source will actually be from the chat, from the live stream. And the ICOM IMREC office will have a tablet with those questions coming through, which the moderators will have access to, so that you've got those ahead of time. So without further ado, may I suggest that we start our first session, which is Bruno Brulon Soares, and I'll ask Connell McCarthy to introduce him. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara, for your wonderful briefing on the today's session. Just like Professor Kara mentioned, the restitution and decolonization are the concepts that have constantly evolving. Well, it is also the priority of the 5 years plan of the ICOM. I sincerely hope that with today's session, we can showcase your ideas, your insights, and also have the exchanges of the academic ideas. In the end, I'd like to thank Ima from the ICOM as well as President Liu of Shanghai University for the kind support. I want to thank Carol and Lai Shun for your leadership in the organization of this meeting. I also want to thank all the distinguished experts from the 5 main continents for your attention and your long-lasting support. The museums, decolonization, and restitution, global conversations, opening ceremony is officially ended. Without further ado, we will begin the first keynote speech. Now I will hand over to Professor Connell McCarthy to moderate this part. Let's welcome.